morning. Welcome to the University Francisco Marroquín. Today we have with us a professor of philosophy. He's an objectivist. He will be giving a seminar on natural rights and a conference on the moral or ethics of capitalism. Craig, welcome to the university.
Thank you very much.
I understand that among your activities, you are the editor of this magazine, The Objectivist Standard. Could you tell us something about it?
Yeah, the Objective Standard is a quarterly journal of culture and politics written from an objectivist perspective. Objectivism is Ayn Rand's philosophy of reason, egoism, and laissez-faire capitalism. And the purpose of the journal is to analyze cultural and political events from that perspective. It's not just politics. It ranges the whole span of cultural issues from education to legislation. We have articles on art. We have articles on science. And the goal is to, as I said, analyze issues from an objectivist perspective. But the reason we do that is we want to show readers that there is that there's an alternative view on most of these issues, whether it's education or political issues or foreign policy matters. The objectivist position is really distinct from both the liberal and the conservative position. It's not either of those, and it's not something in between those. It's a completely different animal altogether. So the journal is an outlet for articles on ideas from this perspective.
And they also include some articles on epistemology, I think, right?
There are, to some extent, articles on epistemology in the sense that there are articles about pedagogy that incorporate proper epistemology about teaching children. We have, for instance, there's a wonderful article by Lisa Van Dam on hierarchy in education, the importance of the principle of hierarchy and what that means in educating children. The idea that children have to learn, as all people have to learn, certain things in a certain order in order to actually grasp the material. And this is evident in mathematics very, very clearly, but it's not evident. It's not self-evident in other areas. You would never teach a child, calculus before he learned, algebra and the more fundamental mathematics, all the way down to simple arithmetic. But this same principle holds in all areas of knowledge. There's actually a hierarchy of knowledge. So we have there's an article on that subject, and that incorporates proper epistemology, but it's written about a particular application of that epistemology. We have not yet had articles in the journal on epistemology per se, although they could very well be published in the journal at some point.
Sure. Some of our viewers might not be familiar with objectivism, so maybe you can tell us a little about what objectivism is.
Objectivism is the philosophy that was created by the American philosopher Ayn Rand, and it's a comprehensive philosophy. It has a metaphysics, it has a view of the nature of the universe, the nature of reality, the laws of nature that are true of all things at all times, and the base there being the law of identity. Things are what they are, they act in accordance with their nature. A rose can bloom, but it can't speak. So it's an absolutist philosophy. There's a reality. It is what it is, and if we want our knowledge and our values to be true and good, then they need to correspond to that base. So that's the metaphysical foundation. And then it has an epistemology, which is the branch of philosophy that studies the nature and means of knowledge. How do we know what we know? What is our means of knowledge? How are concepts formed? How do you know whether a concept is valid or invalid, being properly used or improperly used? And that's the realm of epistemology, and that's the second of the two fundamental branches of philosophy in general, and of Ayn Rand's philosophy in particular. And then there's ethics, and her ethics holds, I should say of her epistemology, that her view there is that our means of knowledge, and our only means of knowledge, is reason, our faculty by which we perceive reality, form concepts, integrate our ideas into principles, and thereby understand the way that the world works and are able to use that knowledge for human purposes. Her ethics is is perhaps her most controversial aspect of her philosophy. And that is because her ethics holds that selfishness, that rational self-interest, is actually moral, and that the entire Judeo-Christian approach to ethics, the idea that being moral consists in self-sacrificially serving other people, is wrong. She says, no, sacrificing yourself for other people is not good. Why would that be good? How is it good for you to give up the values on which your life depends? She says, no, that's not good. But nor is it good to sacrifice other people for your own interests. That's not good because it's against the requirements of human life. Human life doesn't require human sacrifice. So she developed a morality of non-sacrifice, a morality of mutual self-interest, of trade, a morality in which each person pursues his own self-interest, respects the rights of others to pursue their self-interest, and thereby we have a harmony of interest. Everybody uses their own judgment, their own reason to decide what they want to do and what's good for their life. And this very morality, which I'll be talking about this subject now in the seminar on the source and nature of rights, and also in the lecture on the morality of capitalism, this morality gives rise to the principle of individual rights. If you look at it this way, Ayn Rand's principle of egoism says that everybody should act in his own best interest and is the proper beneficiary of the things that he creates, the things that he produces.
So that's the right way to do things.
Yeah, that's the moral way. But if it's true that everybody should act in their own best interest and is the proper beneficiary of the things that they produce, then once we get to politics, we need a political theory that corresponds to that. So we need a principle that tells us that everybody should be free to do exactly that. Everybody should be free to pursue his own interests and keep the product of his effort. And that's the principle of individual rights. And as I'll go into more detail in the seminar and in my lecture, it's essentially the same principle at two different levels of hierarchy in this philosophy. So her ethics, the morality of self-interest, which is quite involved. I mean, there's the principle that life is the standard of value, there's our means of knowledge, our means of acquiring our values, et cetera. And then she's got virtues ranging from rationality, the fundamental virtue, through integrity and independence and productiveness and pride. So there's a series of applications of reason to the requirements of human life that constitute the virtues. Then there's the principle of individual rights, and then we get to Ayn Rand's politics, which is supported by this whole structure. And her view in politics is that people should be free, and therefore we need a government to protect their freedom, to protect their rights, to act on their judgment and keep their goods. And that form of government, or that social system more accurately, is laissez-faire capitalism. It's a system in which property is privately owned, people's rights are recognized and protected, you have rule of law, you have the aspects of government that are necessary to establish and maintain rule of law, so you've got courts, police, military, and so on. But you have no aspects of government that are involved in the economy at all, because the economy is about individuals trading for their own interests. The government has no business there. The government's sole purpose, according to Rand's philosophy, is to protect individual rights. So it's a hands-off. That's what laissez-faire means, hands-off government. It does one thing and does it well, protects rights. So if you commit fraud, that's indirect force against people. That violates their rights. That's out. Extortion, out. Murder, out. Rape, out. Robbery, out. But that's all the government does, is protect us from that. And then she has a theory of aesthetics as well, which I won't get into now, but that's another branch of her philosophy.
Okay. Thank you, Craig, very much. We will enjoy your visit here, and we hope that our viewers have enjoyed and learned a little bit about objectivism and about the objective standard which Craig edits. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Warren.